That record held now with the camera completely
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Grand Prix Podcast. I'm Elton, this, as always, is Andy.
Hello there. You got awful melodic there for a second.
Yeah,
thought you were about to break into a jaunty tune.
Oi.
Oi.
No, we shan't do that. We're here to talk about the 2018 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the season closer.
And now the end is here.
It's all over, mate. 2018 is all over now. We've completed another season.
It's true. Do you want to do what we thought overall season now, or should we leave that until the end?
I think we'll leave that till the end.
Okay.
Because we got a whole race to go through before that. Got lots of news as well.
Yes.
And discussion. And,
so much.
Just want to let the listeners know we didn't go live because my internet has gone wonky again. I live out on the sticks. And,
it literally does.
Yeah, I do. And
he's currently being besetted by young hooligans setting fire to internet cables and stuff.
Oh man, yeah. That's drama I won't get into just now.
No.
But my internet is carried on the backs of hedgehogs out here, and so sometimes it can be a bit spotty. And trying to load stuff up, it's all gone a bit wonky. So we've just decided, do you know what? Let's forget about that because that's just a distraction. And it's going to cause problems. So apologies.
Do you think maybe it's set up by Williams Engineering?
It's either going to be Williams or McLaren, isn't it?
It's true.
Although the hint of my next year's broadband being a lot better are coming through. But then again, McLaren and Williams have said that a couple of times, haven't they?
Just a couple.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're here to talk about the race.
Yes.
Okay, initial impressions on the race. How did you find it? Did you enjoy it? Was it a load of crap? What were your thoughts on it?
The Abu Dhabi race has never been my favourite. I believe we've had this discussion several times. Mm-hmm. In fact, there was a statistic saying I think there was only like 4 overtakes on track last year.
That's not good, is it?
That's not. I mean, I'd say it was an okay race at a mediocre venue. It was for me. It was far from classic. This almost felt like a glorified parade lap. There was a few bits of high drama, a few spills, if you will. And some of those, there was a couple of bits that were quite interesting, but on the whole, it was just a bit flat.
I totally agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I like this track. I think it has got a real good grandstand end to the season. But you kind of need the title to go along with that. And
no, you see, even when they've had, but this just circuit for me just doesn't work. No. You're right. It's a visual spectacle. As they love to keep reminding us, it's the single most expensive track on the Formula One circuit. But money doth not a good Formula One track make.
No.
It was better this year than last year, but it's the 10th year running here.
Yeah.
I couldn't name for you one classic race that's been run here. Not one. Not one race where I'd look at and say that's in the top 3 races of that season. No. And it went right down to there when you had Webber, Alonso, and Vettel going for it.
Yeah.
That was 2010, was it?
No, that was... yes, 2010, yes.
That was 2010. And, that was exciting, just the amount. But the race itself was dull as dishwater. It was the only thing exciting was the permutations which could result in any one of 3 people winning it. And, yeah, this race for me is a little bit emblematic of what was wrong with Bernie's Formula One, where he made a pretty penny out of it. And, they agreed to build this great big circuit for Bernie because he wanted it. And they paid extra money to have it be the last race of the season. But that was kind of it. I mean, it's way better than Valencia was, but it just, it's no Spa, it's no Interlagos, it's no Baku even.
No, I get it. when you have like an expanse as they did, and you can do anything with that expanse, like the not Avenue of Americas, but the American circuit that they have now.
Circuit of the Americas.
That's it. I was thinking of a Led Zeppelin song, I think.
Yeah.
But when you have that space to do anything you want, and then you do something that's a bit dull, it's a bit frustrating.
Yeah.
But
and you're right. Circuit of Americas for me would be a much better place to end the season.
Do you think?
I do think, because I think that circuit can give good races. And I think you could get just as big a spectacle there. And if Formula One wants to break into the US in a big way like they're talking about, doing it there could be a really good... I'm just thinking of the circuits at the back end of the season. I'd sooner see it in Singapore or in the Circuit of Americas or Interlagos than I would here.
Yeah. Okay. I like this circuit. I thought this race was fairly dull, though. Not a lot really happened for me. I think this was a projection of what the whole season for me has been. There's been a lot of hinting that it could get really, really good, i.e. the clouds coming over and, oh, look, it's going to rain in the desert.
Oh, I wanted it to rain. I've been in Dubai when it's rained, and it's terrifying. And to an extent, I was kind of hoping that would happen. But equally, given that the last times it's really rained at circuits, they just stopped the racing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. And I feel that's the whole season for me, really, in a nutshell.
Yes.
And there are certain points in this race where I was jumping up and down, enjoying the racing and waggling my finger at the TV, and the last moments of what we had on camera as well, with the formation flying of the three world champions and doing the donuts, etc. I thought that was a real good guard of honor. I like that. But the race itself was a little flat.
Yeah, it was mediocre.
Yeah. I think if there was a title up for grabs, I think it would have been a whimper. It would have been a whimper. I don't think you would have got anything different than what we had today. Which is a shame, I feel. But I don't want to be down on it, because I still like coming here. I once again, it's like a Monaco for me. I still like going there because it looks really pretty. Is this because they got a
massive Ferrari world in the middle of it?
Well, I would go there. I don't know if I'd go on the roller coaster though. I'm not a fan of roller coasters, so as you well know. But I wouldn't go on there. I'd probably pop my head in there if I could afford it. Just jump on my yacht and go down there. Why not? But yeah, okay. Well, let's get into the nitty gritty of stuff. Was there any news in between the last race and this one?
Oh, of course. Oh, so much news. Okay. All of the news. There was news. Newsy news. Let's see. Where shall we start with the news? Big bit of news, a very positive bit of news, I think everyone agrees, is, you say that. Williams have confirmed their driver lineup.
Oh,
with
yes.
George Russell being joined by Robert Kubica. So,
interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think it's a great story to have Kubica back. Unfortunately, it's with Williams, but arguably Williams could only go up. So, who knows? We might see him doing well.
I think it's a year too late.
For Kubica?
The whole story, really.
No, look, he still made it back, which I think is great. And I did hear that he's going to be the oldest driver on the circuit next year?
No, he'll be second oldest after Kimi Räikkönen.
Oh, yes. So, but it's a great story, and it's been nearly 10 years since people don't realize this. He nearly severed his arm. Like, it wasn't broken. It wasn't cut. It was almost severed. They had to largely reattach it and read all the nerves. And he still largely drives one-handed. He can hold the wheel, but he doesn't have any real strength in the hand to grip anything.
Right.
So he's had to develop a new way to drive. But I'm going to be very interested to see how well he does.
Yeah.
And let's just hope that Williams produces a car which can, race.
Yeah. Has shades of, I don't even remember, Alessandro Nannini.
Yeah.
He was in a helicopter crash after the Japanese Grand Prix, I think it was. Oh, what year? 89, maybe? But he severed his arm as well, didn't he?
Yes.
Is it Alessandro Nannini? No, Lorini. Alessandro Lorini. He was driving for Benetton anyway. I forget his. Yeah, I'm getting lots of Italian names confused. Anyway, so yeah, he had shades of that. It was dangling off, wasn't it, at one point? So it is a remarkable recovery. It is a great story. Mm-hmm. I feel that we were almost talking about this story at the end of last year or the start of this year.
Well, I don't want to take anything away from Kubica.
Yeah.
But I believe a lot of this might have been prompted by the fact that Sergei Sirotkin's backers have said, yeah, we're not giving you any more money. And so, whereas last year they said Sirotkin was the faster driver, and that was the only thing in part of the decision to use him over Kubica, but he brought a lot more money to the table. And that money's now said, we're not happy with your performance, so we're not giving you money this year. And so now they've said, okay, fine, we'll go with Kubica.
Yeah.
So read into that what you will, ladies and gentlemen, with poor old Sergei Sirotkin.
But that means there's no space at the end for Ocon, is there?
Well, no, because the other bit of news driver related, and Ocon was always a long shot there, is he's the official Mercedes test driver.
Yeah, I think he's quite safe doing that. There's been a couple of hints over this weekend. I think where Toto Wolff was talking about Ocon, saying that he's going to be reserve driver and official third driver. And he said he's going to be staying there, doing a lot of time in the simulator, and then he'll be ready for a seat in 2020.
Oh, yes.
Now, do you reckon that's hinting at a Mercedes seat at 2020? Or something else? Maybe Bottas has got okay, right, up your game this year or you're out.
Possibly. But I think, Toto Wolff likes to get his ducks in a row early on. But Danny Rick kind of just messed up all those ducks by doing something no one expected him to do, because no one in their right mind would go and leave Red Bull for Renault. So that just kind of messed everything up. Because of that, it kind of had a butterfly effect. Yeah. Because he was going there, Sainz had to go, and so Sainz ended up going to McLaren, and all this sort of stuff. Oops, sorry, just knocking shit off my desk. But anyway, that I think when he says that, it just means he's going to get something locked down, and it won't just be a gentleman's agreement or a handshake next time. It'll be properly locked down.
Right. Okay, cool. Right. What else was there?
Okay, well, speaking of Renault, the head of Renault and Nissan, Carlos Ghosn?
I think so, yeah.
Either way, has been sacked. We're not talking about the head of the Formula One team. We're talking about the head of a company, like the big cheese, the big kahuna, the top dog, and all those things. For financial impropriety, I believe is the polite way of saying it.
Yes. Wasn't he arrested after I think he was flying around and landed in Tokyo, I think it was, and arrested at the airport in Tokyo?
I believe so. Well, he is it's the Renault-Nissan group, so, he did have reason to be there.
Well, yeah, he got Nissan off of its knees. I think Nissan was almost going to go bust, and he downsized things. He had a couple of nicknames, and he was the go-to king, I think it was. He just downsized, chop all the dead wood away, and then revamped it from that point on. But yeah, money laundering is. I'm not saying money laundering. I'm not
financial impropriety.
Yeah, okay. I didn't say that. That. Oh, geez, what we're going to do now?
Allegedly.
Yes. There we go.
Allegedly, yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess we will. Well, I don't think that's going to have a huge impact. Certainly not for next year for Renault. But he was a big supporter of the team's resurgent F1 effort. Mm-hmm. So, depending on who comes in next, we'll see what goes there. Okay. And see what that has impact in. Let us see what else do we have news-wise. Okay. So not directly Formula One related, but kind of. Did you see any of the Macau Grand Prix?
No. Normally I catch bits of it, maybe a race or two, maybe the bikes.
Yes. For those who don't know, the Macau Grand Prix is an event which takes place in Macau, in China. And it's kind of like a street race. Think of it as Monaco with balls. I think that's fair to say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. It used to be Formula One drivers would take part. Back in the day, you'd have Niki Lauda and Graham Hill and people like that racing. Not in Formula One cars, though, in Formula 2 cars, I think. But, they don't do that now. But they had a Formula 3 race, and it had one of the single most terrifying crashes I have ever seen.
Yeah.
This thing scared a bejesus out of me. It involved Sophia, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Florsch.
Yep.
We're going to go with that.
Yeah, that's how
Florsch.
I pronounce it.
And she was coming down one of the straights there and was involved in someone in front braked. She was unsighted, so hit him, which took out the front left wheel, which then put her into the barrier, taking out the front right wheel, which takes away all your braking ability. So that car went hurtling down the straight without losing any real speed from its top speed, hit the sausage curbs.
Baguette curbs.
The baguette curves, and it launched her into the photo booth, like where the photographers were. Yeah. This little thing. And through some minor miracle, so it cleared the barriers, it cleared the catch fence, it hit that, but it hit it in such a way that the roll hoop kind of went into the part where the photographers were looking out of.
That's right, yeah.
And it then fell down, and it went down a good 10 feet?
Yeah. At least a car length.
At least a car length down onto the ground before coming to a rest. She suffered a fractured spine, but is expected to make a full recovery.
Excellent.
But holy shit. That was a scary crash. And the Grand Prix Drivers Association have gotten together to have a chat about this because the sausage curbs I featured in quite a number of Formula One races and venues, and that's definitely. I mean, if a Formula One car was doing that, it would have done that. There was nothing to stop that happening there. So it was just a very scary sort of crash.
It's a stark reminder on how brutal this sport can be, and on how close the racing is. Did you hear the reason why? I haven't had this confirmed. I could be talking out my arse about this as well. But the reason why the guy in front of her broke was because one of the flag stations accidentally waved a yellow flag.
I didn't know about that, but
that's what I've read. Well, whether that is absolutely stone cast true or not, I'm not too sure, but I'm just letting you know what I've read, and we all know what these stories start, and that's what launched her. She hit another car as she was spearing down the road as well, didn't she? She speared another car into the barriers. But when I first saw it, I was stood on the side waiting for my boys' football match to start, and I just caught this. I just flicked onto it. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, Macau's on this weekend. Okay. And then saw some hashtags, went through the hashtags, and then people started talking about a crash, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you start digging, and everyone's sending out these press releases saying, oh my God, I hope these people are all right. Lots of people been taken to the hospital. And then I saw the video. Holy cow. That is terrifying. And I remember speaking to you via a message about this and just saying, yeah, that is terrifying. It's just the velocity that she is pitched into that camera box. And it's like a missile from right to left. You're like, flipping hell. And then you inevitably start digging at certain things. It's once you know people have been taken to hospital and they're okay, then you start digging around. And there's a few camera views of this as well on there.
Oh yeah, there's no official footage because I suspect the camera that would have been filming it was in the box that was hit. But it was right in front of one of the grandstands, so a lot of people filmed it with their camera phones and what have you. So there's lots of angles seeing this car just kind of spearing through and hitting that. There was 5 people taken to hospital, 2 drivers, so Sophia and one of the other drivers. And there was 2 marshals and a photographer, I believe.
Yep.
And you can see the footage of the marshals. They're not actually hit by the car. They're hit by one of the wings, which kind of sailed, in the wake of the car and kind of caught them both. But fortunately, no one was seriously hurt. Now, I think what's interesting and worth having a quick discussion is the Formula 3 cars are not fitted with the halo. Now, she was okay, but this definitely looked like the sort of crash where if that car had been just a couple of inches higher or lower, the lack of a halo could have been a very big problem for her.
Well, yeah, her roll hoop, I think, went into the camera box, didn't it? Or it looked on first vision that the roll hoop, and if that goes into a void, then you have nothing to stop her head being hit or someone else's head being hit. And it's so terrifying.
Yeah. Also, let's not forget that the car was launched by those curbs up and above the level of cars. And that's exactly the kind of, it's like we saw with Charles Leclerc in Spa. As soon as a car gets above tyre height, effectively, the driver is at risk if they don't have something there to protect them. So, fortunately, though, she was largely okay. I mean, you could see her kind of moving, waving anyway, straight away afterwards. And when you hear spinal injury, that conjures up all sorts of, oh my God, that's terrifying. But it sounds more like it's a cracked vertebrae than any too much more serious. And fortunately, hopefully, it should be very, very quickly healed and able to race again next season. Yeah. But yeah, that was scary. Don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. Can I also say the dicks that make comments about this as well? The internet is a breeding ground of utter bastards out there, and as soon as they find out that it's a young lady driving one of these cars, you get all the horrible jokes come straight out, and you're like, no, do you know what? We're in 2018. In this sort of situation, I don't think it's acceptable. You can just clear off, as far as I'm concerned, making jokes about this sort of stuff. Look, I think if I made to those people, and just because it's our last race of the season, and we probably won't have the chance to do this for a while. Yeah, fuck off, keep fucking off, fuck off some more, and when you've finished fucking off and got back here, fuck off again. Yeah, there's a time and place for inappropriate jokes. The internet is not one of them sometimes. And you know me, I have a dark sense of humour every now and again, and I can come out with the most cringeworthy stuff. And I'm sure you can too. And listener, I'm sure you have done as well in the past. It doesn't mean you have to write it down and let everyone know what a dickbag you are. So there you go. There's my little rant for this week. I'm sure I have some more later, but yes. Just dicks, man. Just dicks.
And I'd just like to remind everyone that the preceding podcast does contain harsh language, and if young ears are offended by this, maybe you shouldn't listen.
Yeah. If you're offended, I'm not going to apologise. We've warned you plenty of times before.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else we have? We're Pirelli saying that they're going to be doing the tyres until 2023, I think it was.
Yes, I think so. The original contract was only due to expire next year anyway, but it's been extended in advance. I think there was only one other company kind of was sniffing around, but yeah. I think better the devil you know there. Also, we're not getting the new large wheels next year now. We're not getting them now until 2021.
Right.
For reasons, which is it's a shame, but oh well.
I think they look so good, though. Low profiles look so good. But I think as long as they bring them in at some point, because I think they just finish off the car quite well. And
also, with a sidewall that's, that bloody, there's no relation to any on-the-road technology or anything like that. I mean, they look like the sort of tyres you had back in the 80s.
Well, it's going to mean you're going to need better suspension to carry that car, because you're not going to have the movement through the sidewalls. And today's cars, I think most of the World Endurance, they run on low profile, don't they?
I believe so, yeah. And I think IndyCar as well. They've moved over that way.
I think they have a bigger wheel, yeah. I don't know if they're low profile or not, though.
Just looking at a quick picture here. By comparison, I mean, they're a bigger wheel. I wouldn't say they are, finger quoting, low profile. But the ratio of wheel to tyre is a lot lower.
Yeah. Now, I know Formula One's edging away slightly away from our own road technology, but surely if you went down this sort of route for a tyre manufacturer would reap the rewards for on-the-road technology from this.
I agree. Formula One's kind of accepted that it is not where the transference of technology to road cars, you can't use that justification anymore.
No.
That's fine. But at the same time, I think with the tyre, I mean, let's face it, tyres are kind of a bugbear of the sport at the minute. If I have to hear tyre saving one more time, I might actually shank someone. So yeah, it just let's really mix things up a little bit. Go for that, and I don't know, do something.
Yeah,
we'll see. But we're not getting those tyres now until 2021. With the rest of the big regulation change, so it's just one other thing that's going to be different there.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
I'm sure there was other stuff. Oh, yes. Okay, so I'm not an expert on this, but you mentioned this beforehand, and I've just had a quick looking up on this. Haas have launched a protest against Force India because they say that Force India's entry is using a car that they didn't design.
Jesus.
So, as you know, to be a Formula One constructor, you have to own the intellectual property rights to have designed your own car. Effectively, you can use other engines, do components, but the car itself, technically, you have to have. Now, when Force India went into administration, what we now have as Racing Point Force India is legally a separate entity, separate company. It's the same company, they just changed the name, but legally they are a separate company. Now Haas are filing a protest and complaining, saying that they don't have the right to use the car that was designed by the previous entity, and therefore should be ineligible for any prize money and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And I'm getting sick and tired of Haas pulling this kind of shit.
Haas are the team that would leave a comment in a YouTube video, aren't they?
They are the YouTube commenters of Formula One. They definitely are. They are the Well Actually team. They are the ones who... I won't go there. It will get very political. But let's just say there's a kind of YouTube commenter. Haas would be them.
Right.
And this just strikes me as petty. It's
Are they the ones that comment first on everything? No. Okay, cool.
Let's just say the word libtard might get used.
Idiots.
But it's, Haas, the reason Force India did this and everything was to keep the company going, keep the team going, and to keep 300 odd people in work. This isn't just about points. And spoiler alert, just to let everyone know, Haas still finished ahead of them, even if you'd used the previous points, which Force India gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Haas would have still finished ahead on points. So it's not like you're gaining anything there. I mean, maybe they're saying there'd be a bigger pot available to everyone else, but it just strikes me as extremely petty and bad form. Bad form, sir. Don't like it. So, yeah, this is, and the FIA has basically said they can't deal with it until after this race that's just been. And actually now Haas are finished ahead of them. It wouldn't surprise me the slightest if they dropped it. But just stop being dicks, Haas. Stop it.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Do you remember at the start of the season, I was quite happy for them to do well, and they were looking good on Australia, and we were thinking, do you know what? They're coming good. They're doing quite well in second or third season. I forget what one it is, but okay, plucky upstart. Let's give them a bit of leeway. And yeah, okay, they might have massive dicks driving their car again. God, we're saying massive dicks quite a lot this week, aren't we? But
yes.
We still give them the benefit of the doubt because they're a young team and they're pushing forwards. But then when you come and do this sort of thing to another team, A, keeping lots of people in a job, B, keeping enough teams on the grid so you can still run the Formula One World Championship. And they're still arguing about that. You're supposed to be a circus, a group of like-minded individuals going around the world, entertaining the world, and you're trying to scupper that. It's biting the hand that feeds you in some respect.
Well, it is a cutthroat sport. I'm finger quoting the sport bit there. But like I said, this was done to keep, the team afloat, to keep the people working there employed. So pulling shit like this, it might be in future if another team's in this sort of a situation, they might be able to get a buyer because the buyer will look at it and go, we can't be dealing with all the grief we're going to get as a result of it.
Possibly,
and then you lose a team or something, and people lose jobs. This is real life. So it just strikes me as extremely petty and petulant, and they're just going around actuallying everyone. They're policing it. And it's just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
No other team cares. Let it go. Yeah.
Well, I think every other team has looked at it and gone, okay, you guys are still racing. That's excellent. We know that you were in. I mean,
Haas does seem to have a massive chip on its shoulder because it's a new team. It's not. I mean, let's not forget, Force India, came out of Jordan. If you go back far enough, and maybe Haas felt they were unfairly treated when they were just starting up, and you know what, they probably were. They were unfairly treated, but picking on someone when they're down, just for shits and giggles, just. It doesn't help matters.
Yeah. This sort of stuff comes around, doesn't it?
Well, one can only hope, yeah.
But I hope they remember this when they're down on their luck and people have started picking holes in them.
Oh, people like them never do. Trust me. Yeah. They'll... Nah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, I think that's all the news that I saw. There was a lot of people talking about Verstappen v Ocon.
Yep.
I said my piece last time. I stand by that 100%.
I think we'll be talking about that very soon, actually.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I think we'll be talking about that very soon. And to make that happen quicker, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run through the free practice and the qualifying very quickly.
Okay.
Right, so in free practice 1, we had Lewis Hamilton. He was running the number 1. He got special dispensation to run the number 1 on the nose and the 44 on the box. And I think he is the only one allowed to do that. The world champion is allowed to run either a 1 or their normal race number. Mm-hmm. And he just asked, look, do you mind if I have the 1? And they went, yeah, do you know what? Go for it. Everyone knows it's Lewis Hamilton anyway, so there's no problem with that. I don't think his car suits the number 1. I think it suits the 44, if I'm perfectly honest.
Way back when, in the before times, when I used to watch a lot of MotoGP, Valentino Rossi, who always races with the 46, when he was the world champion from like 2000 through until 2007, 2006. He lost in 6. Anyway, when he was world champion for God knows how long, his big number on the front was 46, but he had a little number 1 near the back of the bike.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
I was unaware of that. I think it's Lewis Hamilton's choice. I know that there's some thought in the camp that would like him to run the number 1, maybe just 1 year, just to give him a number 1. Because I think the last time we saw a number 1 on the grid was, who was it? Sebastian Vettel, I think it was.
It would have been Vettel because no, it would have been Lewis because
no, it was Vettel.
Because it's ever since they've said that the drivers could have their own number, because prior to that, you were just given a number in relation to where you were. Where you scored points wise.
Roughly, I think it was more done on constructors.
Yeah, but where your team's constructor was, so
Yeah.
but the world champion always, and his team was always 1, which is why you had those situations where McLaren was running a 1 when Button won it, despite being not the best team that season.
Yeah, because he'd come from Brawn, hadn't he? But then I think, after Button ran the 1, then you had Vettel running the 1, and then Lewis Hamilton won in the new vein, didn't he? And he was carrying the 44 from then on, because I think they changed it in 2014, which was the first year.
Yeah, 14 was the year he won it.
Yeah. And he didn't carry the 1, and Nico Rosberg won it, and then didn't come back to sport the number 1.
Yes. Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm quite happy for him to run 44. I'd like to see the number 1 every now and again. It'd be quite cool, but I think with Lewis, now that he's run 44 all the time, to go back to the 1 would look a bit weird.
Well, they tie up their personal marketing in the numbers and everything, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think that's something, again, they kind of learnt from Valentino Rossi in the MotoGP field, and also in America. You build a brand around your number. So. Yep,
I'm quite happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Quite happy with that. Still in FP1, we had Gasly have a small fire and around his gearbox. And also, Lewis was reprimanded for the entry of the pit lane. Now, did you see this at all?
I saw. I didn't know he'd been reprimanded, but I saw that he was kind of in the pit lane and then just kind of looked like he oversteered out of it.
That's what I thought as well. He oversteered out of it over the white line. The big no-no for me was he reversed.
Yeah.
And he was on that no man's land, that Biffin's Bridge between the track and the pit lane entry.
Yeah.
And so is he reversing in the pit lane, or is he reversing on the track there?
No, it was on the racetrack, because he actually, I saw he cleared the racetrack. He was on the track when he started reversing. So I think it was partly that. I think the only justification he might have had would have been if he didn't have enough fuel to complete another lap.
Yep, that's true.
But I suppose the team, the FIA would probably say, well, then you should have just pulled over and stopped and just sat out the rest of the session.
Mm. It's a weird thing, though.
Yeah, it was a weird one, and it wasn't like a serious reprimand. It was more just, don't do it again.
Yeah. I didn't actually think about, didn't he have enough fuel to get round another lap? But yeah, reversing in the pit lane or reversing on a track are two big no-nos.
Mm-hmm.
And they're disqualification events, as far as I'm concerned. And I think in the rules are concerned as well. And even if you're reversing on the track to get into the pit lane, at some point you've got to get into the pit lane to say you're in the pit lane, and you've already reversed into that pit lane. So he's done it somewhere, and yet it's just a reprimand. Now, it is just an understeer thing. It was a silly little incident. It was in free practice 1. You haven't got cars herring around there. It's quite a safe corner to do it on as well. So I get why the reprimand, but once again, I feel it might slightly be one rule for one rule for another. Although I think Kimi Räikkönen did it later on in Q3.
Well, I don't think you can do an instant disqualification because, there's instances if you're spun around and you need to get back or something like that. There's not really much you can do, is there?
No, it's true.
You're kind of stuck. So I think to an extent it is what it is. Can't be helped.
Mm.
And then I think I think they would have taken the view, if he demonstrated, awareness, if they listened to the radio and if the team had said, you're clear, that the only other cars on the other side of the race circuit and all that sort of stuff, they probably just felt a reprimand was it just shows that we saw that, it's not okay, don't do it again, but whatevs.
Yeah. Cool.
So that'd be my view on that.
Good stuff. Right. FP2, nothing really happened. And FP3, Leclerc didn't like the rear of his Sauber, so he decided to remove it in a very slow corner. I think he got dust on his wheels and then oversteered into another corner, and it just rolled around under the bridge and went donk, and it ripped off the rear wing for good measure. We also had Gasly and Grosjean bump into each other. Now, did you see this one? This was a very clumsy thing.
I did not know.
Okay, right. You know where that big lighty up bridge is?
Yes.
There's a slow corner just before there. I'm trying to pull it up on the map tracker. It is corner 17, turn 17. And Grosjean was poodling along, minding his own business, keeping an eye on the mirrors, and Gasly was on a fast one. Gasly came round, caught up with him, and went down the inside of him. Grosjean didn't see him turn up and just promptly tried to hit the apex at a slow speed and ripped off one of Gasly's barge boards. And it was a nothing incident, but we saw pictures of Grosjean coming into Gasly's garage to apologise for it. So it was all done and dusted before the stewards got hold of it. They just deemed it as these guys have sorted it out. They've said, sorry, there's no problem there. But it was just a silly little thing where I think Grosjean was caught napping. His team wasn't really letting him know exactly what was going on, and Gasly just caught him unawares. It was clumsy. And also we had Kimi. Once again, he was late into the pit entrance. I think he crossed over the line there and then went over the bit where Lewis reversed on, back onto the track. And it was, once again, a clumsy thing. It didn't look like he oversteered or understeered. It just looked like he wanted to get back on track. He was reprimanded. But once again, I think if you're going in the pits, you're going in the pits. You make that decision. Once you get into that line, you've made that decision. It's tough. You can't just nip out. Otherwise, we're going to have to start building walls, guys. Let's build some more walls, and you ain't going to like that, are you?
No.
One other thing, Ricciardo stopped out on track because I think engine blew or something went a bit wonky on his car anyway. But
I'm sure that went down like a ton of bricks.
Well, I think he was just looking forward to the end of the season, as far as I'm concerned. In Q1, We had Gasly lost all power as he came over the line. He was set to go through into Q2, but there was a gremlin in that Honda power pack. It didn't give him enough power to get through, and he lost a huge amount of time in sector 3, so he ended up going out. And we lost Stroll, Sorokin, Van Dornberg, and Gasly and Hartley. In Q2, oh no, Alonso also dipped his head as he crossed the line.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, we forgot to mention Alonso's been running a special livery this week.
Oh, yes.
Because it's his last, figure quoting, last race of his career in Formula One. He might be back, but he might not be. Well, we will see. But he's had a special livery on the car, which I thought looked very nice. I quite liked it. Mm-hmm. I quite like. Who's that guy who does the F1 liveries on Facebook and Twitter?
Oh, Tim something. I forget the name of it now.
Yeah, he does. But one of the things he sometimes does is an F1 livery, but with the driver's helmet design incorporated into it. Mm-hmm. And I quite like that because it makes it very obvious straight away which car is which. So, and this worked quite nicely. I like, kind of matching it up. And he had a special helmet design with one side his original helmet from his Minardi and the other side his new one.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
I thought that looked quite cool.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah. And
he had a new camera angle as well. We had one looking back at the guy, didn't we?
Yeah, I kind of want to see more of that. Throughout the whole race, I don't think they used that enough. You want to see their eyes. They're not wearing any tints on their visors in this race, and so you want to see that. And I feel that they didn't use that enough at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Q2, we had Hamilton set a new track record of 1 minute 35, and that was round about as impressive as it got. We lost Alonso, Perez, Magnussen, Ericsson, and Sainz. Mm-hmm. And in Q3, nothing really happened. It was a bit of a mundane session where Lewis Hamilton got pole position from Valtteri Bottas, Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Räikkönen, Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, Romain Grosjean, Charles Leclerc, Esteban Ocon.
I like that, Eric.
And Nico Hülkenberg. So there you go. There's your top 10. Were there any engine penalties or anything like that?
No, for this, I believe it was the first race all season with no engine penalties.
Really?
I think it was.
Everyone had brand new stuff.
Well, it wouldn't have been. It was either brand new stuff or whatever older stuff.
Very old.
Yeah. That's something they need to fix soon.
Yeah.
We could figure that all out. But yes. Shall we get on with the race?
Yeah, let's do the race. Let's go for it. I know it's easy where we start because the start was the start, wasn't it?
It was. It's funny how often that happens. Mix it up sometime and start something else.
I thought the start was very mundane, apart from Max losing lots of positions. But on the first lap, I really want to get straight to this.
Sure.
There was a car ending up on its roof.
It was the second most terrifying crash I'd seen all week.
Yeah. Your thoughts on this crash? Because this was between Hülkenberg and Grosjean, wasn't it?
It was, where you had... which corner were they coming up to? It was turn... it wasn't 1.
No, it was 8 and 9.
It was 8 and 9, yeah. It was around turns 8 and 9. And Hülkenberg knew Grosjean was there, but thought he'd run out wide, so he went for the apex, but he hadn't. So they connected Hülkenberg's right rear wheel to Grosjean's front left, I think.
Yep.
And it basically flipped Hülkenberg's car up onto its side. It did a couple of flips, ending up upside down, up alongside the barriers there. There's no gravel trap or anything. It just kind of went straight in. And then we saw a couple of flames coming out of the back. And a radio message from Hulkenberg saying, "I can't get out of this thing. Get me out. Put that damn fire out."
Mm. This is what we were worried about, wasn't it?
This was something which was mooted as a potential downside to the Halo. Yes, this was absolutely one of the things they were worried about. Rightly so, perhaps. He was stuck there and he couldn't get out on his own. But the fire was, I believe it was just surface oil on the back, and the marshals were there in well under 30 seconds.
Oh, yes.
Putting that out. Medical car was there within a minute or so. And I can understand how scary and frustrating it is not to be able to get out of the car. But all they had to do were the marshals to right the car carefully after making sure he was okay and had no injuries. And if anything, probably a good thing he didn't just crawl out of that on his own. Because, you undo those seatbelts and everything like that, you're just going to go down like a packet of spuds.
Yeah.
To get out of a thing. So it was scary, especially hearing that radio message until they got him out. But would I trade having the Halo for him being able to get out? No, because I think the Halo is a net positive. I would still prefer to see a full canopy. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, I'll make do with the Halo. Frankly, I think after the Alonso Leclerc crash at Spa, the arguments against the Halo were kind of null and void at that point.
Yeah, but you still have idiots mentioning it every single time. Any single little crash I've seen, even on this silly esports, and you got people asking, well, why do they need Halos?
We forgot to mention that in the news, didn't we?
No, I'm not mentioning esports. Not mentioning esports. You can mention it if you want, but I'll just.
I was just, enjoying your little back and forth on the official F1 Twitter.
Do you see them responses I got as well?
Yeah. That was fun.
Oh man alive! But yeah, you have people moaning about the Halo. Look, it's here, it's gonna stay, it ain't changing, it ain't going anywhere, and making piffy little comments is not going to change a single thing.
It didn't even, I mean, I don't even see the Halo anymore.
No,
it's just completely blended into the background of the car, and I actually really like that onboard view you now get with the engine revs and the speed and everything kind of displayed over the Halo. I think that's really cool. So I have zero problems with the Halo. I would still prefer a full canopy, but since we can't have that, at least for the time being, there you go. I mean, the answer here isn't really get rid of the Halo, it's to enclose the wheels. Because that will stop cars being launched in that way. But again, people will just say, oh, you can't, it's against the DNA of Formula One, it's an open-wheeled Formula, and we can't change anything, and it's got to be exactly the way it's always been. They fuck off. Yeah. Go and have a look at a Formula One car from 1950 and look at one today and tell me it's got the same DNA.
Yeah. It's got one wheel in each corner, and that's around about it. Oh, and a driver.
Yeah. A wheel on each corner. I mean, the reason it was open wheeled is because the cars used to be like that and they just took the mudguards off. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it was me, I wouldn't be looking to get rid of the Halo at all. I'd still be pushing. I am still pushing for a full Halo, but I would look at this. I would certainly look into extricating a driver from it to see if there's anything you could learn from this, having done it now. Mm-hmm. But as Martin Brundle pointed out, there was no gravel for it to dig into or cause any damage there. The fire we saw, there was a couple of flames, but they were very, very minor surface things, which were instantly put out by the marshals. And they righted the car and he climbed out on his own and off he popped.
Yeah, I think marshals need to be trained on how to get one of these cars over correctly and safely. I'm sure they are. But there was also a bit of panic stations there as well, because it's the first time we've had a Halo upside down.
I think it is, but I was just thinking back to, was it Barrichello in Imola, or was it a Berger? There was one of those races back in the early 90s where the car's upside down and they just kick it over.
That was Barrichello, yeah.
That was Barrichello, and you don't want to see that.
No.
You want to see what we saw this time, where you have the doctor there, a lot of marshals, and they carefully lower the car down.
Yeah.
Because, you need to make sure that the driver's okay. But as we saw from that Macau crash, these cars, these seats and all this are very, very strong and well put together, and they will take that kind of an impact and, minimum damage to the driver. That's what you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
So a testament to the designers of the car, the safety procedures, that Hülkenberg walked away with no injuries, and that was it. I totally understand why it could be scary for him in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't get yourself out, you're no longer the master of your own destiny. In that sort of mind. It's just,
Yeah, we've seen terrible tales of people being stuck in cars and fires starting, haven't we? So I'd like to see Renault strip this car of all its liquids and donate it to the FIA and marshals and roll it over and test how you can get people out on this.
You could. I mean, I think the FIA already have a simulator for doing that. But
this is a car that's been in a crash. It has the war wounds of a crash. It has the DNA of a crash built into it now, doesn't it? And you can replicate exactly what happened to this thing. You could have dummy setups of this, and you could take it around the world. It'll be easy. It's just another little container that they can fly around the world, and they can have little tests.
While I get what you're saying, I think that's of limited use or anything, because every crash is different. Mm-hmm. If we had a crash situation like Alonso in Australia back in 2016, was it?
Yeah.
That was onto gravel after multiple rapid oscillations and, many, many spins, many, many more Gs than was involved in this one. That's going to be a different requirement to what we saw here. If we saw a crash like Sophia's at Macau, if we saw, just because the car was upside down, I think is limited. I think you're right. The marshals need to be trained on how to ride these cars properly, but I don't think you have to lug this one around to help with that.
Right. Okay. You're saying that every crash is different. You're correct. But isn't having a slight bit of knowledge and information about this sort of thing better than having none at all?
No, I'm absolutely saying having knowledge. All I'm saying is they don't have to bring that car because that car is of limited benefit just because it was in a crash. They already have simulator mock-ups and things like that where they can train marshals in having it upside down and do it in a myriad of different ways. There's no reason for Renault to give up that chassis there for that purpose, is what I'm saying. If nothing else, all the other cars might be very different ways for getting them out, for all we know. So I don't see any benefit in Renault giving up that chassis for anything.
It's just an idea. An idea.
Okay, fine. You know what? We're going to take that idea. It's a very nice idea, and I'm going to put it here on the fridge so everyone can see it. So it's a great idea. There you go. See, it's here, pride of place on our fridge.
Thanks, mate.
You can sign it if you want. You want to sign it. Sign your name on the bottom.
No, we're good. We're good. That idea, as long as it's there on the fridge, it's fine.
It's on the fridge. No, you see, everyone will see it every time they come to get some milk from the fridge. They'll see your idea.
Okay, so that was the result of an accident.
It was a result of a car trying to pass another car.
Yeah,
on a corner.
Very reminiscent of last race's crash, I felt, where you had Driver A. Do you remember this? Driver A and Driver B?
No, it's completely different because...
Why?
Because Hülkenberg wasn't leading the race.
No, that's true.
And Grosjean wasn't trying to unlap himself. So it's completely different. 100%, million% different. Nothing like it whatsoever. Nothing at all. No.
So who was in the right with this one? Or
Who
was
in the
anyone to
right?
blame, or anyone in the anyone in the wrong for this one?
I don't think anyone was in the wrong for this one. A couple of reasons. Firstly, first lap, everyone's a little bit skittery on the first lap, and that's established precedent. It's to be expected. Secondly, from what Hülkenberg said, is he knew Grosjean was there, but he'd thought Grosjean had been run out wide, and you see that just before they get to the turn, he does go out wide, but then he comes back in. So I think he assumed Grosjean was just going to skip that corner altogether, do an Alonso, if you will, and re-enjoying the circuit. So Hülkenberg was wrong in not anticipating Grosjean being there.
Mm.
But outside of that, I think this was more. This to me was more of a racing incident than last week.
Right.
Last week, I still firmly put the blame on driver A, but the one who turned into driver B.
Okay.
The one who has to do community service.
So, if this had been Max that had caused this problem, if Max had rolled today, do you think the media at large would be having a go at Max about rolling his car and not giving the other driver any room?
I doubt it.
Do you reckon? I reckon they would be hounding him for this.
No, I don't think. I think the discussion still would largely just be about the getting out under the halo sort of thing.
Mm.
And I mean, like, in all fairness, it was a different set of circumstances, and shouldn't be trying to unlap yourself against the leader because he's the leader and you can't go past the leader. Yeah.
No, you're allowed to do that. You're not.
No, you're not. It's been established now. You're not allowed to do that. In fact, once you've been passed by the lead car, you should just pull into the pits and retire.
Well, that's what I'm sure that's the way that Sky saw it this time out, where they were all with Max and definitely against Ocon last race, and then this time round they were maybe Hülkenberg shouldn't have gone for the apex, and it was very similar to the last crash, I thought. And it's two totally different opinions, vastly different as well, I felt.
I understand that, Verstappen he's a great talent. No one is disputing that whatsoever. And they want, they keep saying, we want to see racing. We want to see this. We want to see the elbows going up. Mm. Absolutely. We do want to see that. But as I've mentioned a few times, I'm of the opinion that Verstappen comes across as something of an entitled brat.
Okay.
Just on occasion, sometimes. And he certainly comes across of a, I alone can do no wrong, and everyone else. I mean, and we saw this with the Ricardo Verstappen crash. Was it Baku, where we went into the back of him there?
Yep.
Yeah, there was that. Every time there's an incident, Max stands there and goes, well, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. And that's just, I think, part of being a young racing driver. I also don't think it helps that so many people have been blowing smoke up his ass for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think, maybe he was drinking his own Kool-Aid a little bit too much.
I think we saw that with Lewis Hamilton as well in his McLaren days.
Uh-huh.
There was a lot of that going on. And I think it's safe to say Lewis has matured as a driver now.
Yeah.
And is a much more rounded individual. I mean, now he races, he's releasing an album, #blessed, out soon from all good record stores. He's doing a fashion label, starring in a movie with Will Smith, apparently on Twitter. No, literally, he is.
No, I saw that, yes.
Yeah. So, he's doing all these sort of, but aside from that, though, he's just a much more rounded, calmer driver. I guess he feels like he's got less to prove to the world. Whereas I think with Max, because he hasn't yet won a championship, and everyone was saying from day one, he's going to be the champion by the time he's 20 or something like that. Mm. Well, now he's 21. I mean, for the last 4 races, all I've heard is, will he surpass Vettel as being the youngest ever pole sitter?
Yeah.
No, he will not. But that's all we were hearing, non-stop. And until he matures, I mean, you just read through the comments on Autosport. Everyone's against Ocon on there, all saying, Ocon doesn't deserve to race because he dared to unlap himself and he did a foolish mistake. Fuck off. Driver A turn in a driver B, simple as that. But I don't think this crap, while the setup was the same, I think the circumstances were different enough that no one would have battered the eye, even if it was. The only reason anyone would have said anything is if it was Ocon and Verstappen again. Yeah. Which would have been hilarious.
Which nearly happened a couple of times, didn't it?
It did. That was fun.
Yeah. Well, okay, we had the safety car for that, but then we had a little bit of a battle with Ocon and Max. And I forget which time they actually bumped their tyres together. Was it the second time?
I think it was, yeah. Because the Mercedes just had the straight line grunt, whereas Max was able to kind of line it up and slipstream. And it was always that second straight he was able to get ahead.
Well, he was having power issues as well, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah. There was something playing up with either his battery pack or something.
There was a situation where Max got past Ocon on the hairpin. This was the first time where they didn't bump into each other. And then Ocon and Perez just drove around him because he was harvesting on the straight and he was having power issues. And then he got into the slipstream, got the car settled down, and then was able to get past both of them.
Yeah.
And then I think after pit stops as well, he had to pass Ocon again, and he bumped into him that time. And if Ocon hadn't opened up the wheel a little bit, then we could have been looking at another serious incident between them two. But there was a little bite from Max Verstappen, I felt. It was a little bit personal there, and it was, no, I'm coming through, and yeah, get behind me now. And that's why I felt that he settled his car. That bump was kind of intentional into his wheels, just to say, look, you dick, get away from me, because you caused me problems last time out.
Mm-hmm. I definitely, he definitely felt he had a bit of a score to settle there, and was, you even saying afterwards, in the interview, saying, I think this was so unfair, my penalty, and all this sort of stuff, and what else? I don't care. I'm bored of it now. I'm bored. Bored of it. You're boring me, Max.
Yeah. Kimi went out. I know that he dropped out. I forget why he dropped out, though. Hang on, let me have a look at the
I think it
power loss.
It was power loss because his steering wheel shut down. It looked like entire electrical failure.
Yeah, he came round the last corner, didn't he? He seemed like he was low on power going into the last corner, and then all of a sudden it just dinked off.
He was having problems, it sounded like, and I think that's why he also stayed in the car instead of getting out straight away. They were trying to restart it. It was definitely some sort of electrical gremlin.
Yeah.
Which was a real shame for him in his last race with Ferrari.
Yeah.
But, c'est la vie. It's just, it's just poor. I mean, at least he got a win this season.
Well, yeah.
And at least he's back in it again next season. So
yeah. I'm glad we're not losing him, because I think losing him and Alonso, you'd be losing a lot of. Even though Kimi doesn't bring along the personality per se, he still has the charisma there. Yeah,
it's just something special about Kimi, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him in Sauber. I'm looking forward to also getting my Sauber pajamas as well, and my wee Willy Winky hat. I'm looking forward to all of that. And if I'm allowed, my missus will let me have the Sauber bedspreads. I'm not too old for that, am I?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Good.
No, that's absolutely fine.
I'll probably be in a single bed by the end of the week.
Well, I was going to say, she let you name your daughter after him, so.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm kind of curious. Does she know that's why you named her Kimmy?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did she know at the time, though?
I will tell you the whole story one day. We'll sit down and have a beer and I'll tell you the exact whole story about it. But,
fair enough. Okay, that's fine.
There is a whole story about it, so I will enlighten you one day about that.
Okay, fine. Yes, so Kimmy was out at that point. Hamilton pitted under the virtual safety car. Oh, yeah, we had a virtual safety car. How did you feel about that?
Yay, love them things.
I can't tell if you're serious or not.
I do. I've actually fallen in love with them. I think more because they bring excitement to that race.
It was definitely better having a virtual safety car at that point, and it worked. You know, that was definitely a situation where you couldn't really double waved yellow it.
No.
And I think a full safety car would have just messed it up, especially after we just had a safety car. So,
although, don't you miss the days of when they just broke down and parked their car off the line? That car would have been left there for the rest of the race in the 1990s.
Well, never mind the 1990s. 5 years ago, it would have just been left there.
Yeah, possibly.
And you just have a car just parked there on the side, out of the way.
Yep.
I think it's. I think what changed that would have been the Jules Bianchi crash.
Yeah.
So, it's all well and good, creating those things, but you don't want to. Crash barriers are there to absorb impacts. Formula One cars less so.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying they should have left it there, but
no, I know what you say. You kind of just miss. You'd see, this car for the rest of the race that broke down on lap 4.
I see it as the scars of the race.
Yes,
I like to see the scars of the race, and you don't get that anymore. Rightly so, but you still don't get it.
So Lewis pitted on like lap 7 for tyres, and he just wore those all the way to the end of the race. That was kind of it as far as the racing portion of the evening went.
Do you reckon he was in any trouble at all? Do you reckon he had any worries? Because he pitted before everyone else, didn't he? But do you reckon he had it under control even then?
I think the only thing that might have changed things is if we got some rain. And even then, it would have been how much rain. Yeah.
Because weren't Red Bull waiting for a bit of rain as well? Because that's why they kept Daniel Ricciardo out for so long.
I think they were hoping for a bit of rain. So I think there was that. Vettel tried to do an undercut and Ferrari muffed it up.
Yep.
So at that point, the Red Bulls were like, Bottas was like, I'm safe. But then he had a problem with his tyres and had to do an extra pit stop.
Oh.
So, Bottas, not his best season, I think it's safe to say.
No, not one bit. I think, imagine how different this season would have been if he'd won at Baku, which he was in the lead and he got that puncher, and maybe at Austria as well. Because I think he had more points than Lewis going into Baku. I'm sure he had more points than Lewis. And then getting a win on top of that, it might have flipped it round. Not saying that Mercedes would have turned around and said, yeah, okay, we're straddling behind the Bottas train. Because I think they know that Hamilton can bring that championship to them on
going
his own.
Going into Baku, Lewis had a second, a third, and a fourth. Bottas had an 8th and 2 seconds.
Must have been close then.
It would have been very close. Yeah. It just didn't come together for Bottas this year. It just really didn't.
No.
He had the machinery to do it, but I just don't think, he really.
He didn't seem to have the fight in him, did he?
No, he seemed a bit broken, didn't he?
I think after
and this
Baku,
was long, but there was Baku, but I mean, Baku was only the 4th race of the season.
I know, but I think it was that early on. I think he knew that it wasn't going to go his way.
Yeah. That's that plus the Austrian Grand Prix as well, where both of Mercedes retired.
Well, I think he was leading when he retired, wasn't he?
I can't remember. Possibly.
I'm sure he was leading and he retired, and it was just that picture of him just looking so dejected. And I think at that point he knew, it's not going to happen, is it? It's really not going to happen.
Yeah, that just really would have hurt. And yeah, it just wasn't to be. But yeah, so Bottas I think was the only person that really could have challenged Lewis, but I just don't think his head was in the game.
Yeah. Well, okay, he was struggling on tyres, wasn't he?
I think he was. I know that he had. They pitted him as a precaution because they saw something on the telemetry about maybe a slow punch on the rear. But I don't know. You know, I'm at a loss to explain. It might well be that he just feels his job's under threat, and the only reason he's racing there is because Ocon was supposedly going to another team, and maybe he just feels a bit unloved. Maybe.
What about his battle with Verstappen on the race today then?
I think Verstappen had his number, really.
I'm trying to remember what turns it was. Hang on, what turns? I think it was 11, 12 and 13. And Max went down the inside of Bottas. Bottas got the corner and then was surprised that Max went round the outside of 12 going into 13 and just planted his Red Bull on the apex and bumped into him as well. Kind of thrown him off the circuit a little bit, but I think at that point Bottas was a wounded animal anyway.
I think it was a little bit of that, and I also think that's just more of Verstappen fomenting that reputation that I'm coming through one way or the other.
I thought that was a great move, though. I thought that was brilliant.
It was a great move, absolutely. And I think Verstappen was the only person that could pull off that kind of a move because of that attitude. Yeah.
But to stick your car down the outside of 12, I don't think I've ever seen anyone overtake around that sort of corner.
Well, to be fair, this is Abu Dhabi, you know. I think there are still corners you've never seen people overtaking it.
No, that's true, yeah.
Not want to take anything away from it, I'm just saying.
Yeah. But, yeah, Bottas, I think he pitted and really didn't make any gains on anyone. That was it. He was in no man's land again, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was just... it's painful. And you could hear in his post-race interview as well, he was just like, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done. Next season we'll see. But just right now, not had the best of... Not been the most fun weekend for him.
Yeah.
And I think the same as well with Ricciardo to a certain extent. A little bit hung out to dry with the strategy there.
Well, if it had rained, it had gone well, I think, because he would have made his only pit stop for inters or for a different type of dry, and it would have worked really well.
Yeah, but I also think because Max was on the Hypersoft tyre, they felt they had to pit him sooner.
Right.
And I think that, because of that, they decided to leave Ricciardo out a bit longer. I think if they were both on the same tyre, because typically it's the lead driver gets the first pit stops, but just given the tyre differential, I'm choosing to believe that's the reason they did it.
Yeah, sometimes I think in that sort of situation, because I think we've seen it a couple of times, especially with Ferrari as well, where they get their driver in the lead, they haven't made their stop, and they need to make their stop, but they know that they've already missed their window, and so they sit on it. And it just makes things worse. And they sit on it, and it's... If you was in charge of this team, you'd say, okay, right, pull him in now so he's got more chance of making up positions later on. Oh no, we're waiting for a window. No, pull him in now. Put him in now, and then we'll try and make it up later. But sometimes they sit on their hands and wait for things to come towards them, and it doesn't happen, and they don't pull the pin, and it screws up a driver's race. And I feel that's what happened with Daniel Ricciardo today. They didn't pull him in, and they sat on their hands waiting for something else out of their reach to change that race for them.
Mm.
And it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
It's frustrating, especially when Ferrari do that. Well, when any team does it as well. I think Mercedes may have done it once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
But more with Bottas than anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, he's driving around going, hello guys, I haven't made my stop yet. What are you going to, oh yes. Oh, that's what we had to do. Okay. Right. Yeah. Bring him in now. And yeah, I was
half expecting Ricciardo just to stay out the entire race on a set of tyres.
What penalty would you get for that?
Well, presumably he'd be disqualified.
Mm.
But just to prove a point.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd screw everything up, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We did have some nice jostling between Van Dorn, Grosjean and Ocon in the mid-pack. I think there was a situation where Van Dorn was coming alive. Just at the moment when the season is closing, he starts to come alive. And he was being hassled by Grosjean. Ocon was behind them. Grosjean got Van Dorn. And then Grosjean was in the middle of a 3-wide situation. And Van Dorn ended up going out ahead. And it was good racing from him. And it makes me wonder, where has that been? Where has that been all season? Why are you doing it now? It's like Sebastian Vettel doing the fastest lap and you're going, well, where was that speed all weekend? Why didn't you do that every lap? And it's just frustrating. And then he probably sits there wondering why he's driving Formula E next year.
Well, let's not be too disparaging towards Formula E.
Oh, no. Do you know what? I'm secretly quite enjoying that stuff now. I like the commentators as well.
You know it's going to be on BBC next year.
Yes, I do, yes.
Hey, maybe we should do it.
Have they still got Vernon Kay doing it?
I don't know. We'll talk after.
Okay, right. We'll hatch a plan, yes?
Yeah, we'll plan something. We had a couple of other retirements, which I think are worth mentioning. One in particular. We lost. Sorry, I've lost my page. There you go. So, as well as Hülkenberg and Raikkonen, who we've mentioned, we lost Ericsson due to power loss. Mm-hmm. We also lost Eric Ocon. Eric Ocon, an engine failure. But then we lost Pierre Gasly. Rather interesting, that one. Blowing a lot of smoke down. Kept on going. A lot of smoke into Verstappen's face. A couple of comments along the line. Lots of engine smoke. So a lot of comments have go from the commentary box of, I wonder if that's the last time Max is going to be smelling Honda engine oil.
Well, hopefully Max won't be smelling it, but that's only because he's driving away from the direction the smoke is blowing. Yeah.
It's nice to see Honda have made progress and have increased their competitiveness, but those things still are about as reliable as a very unreliable thing.
Yeah, that's bad. It also reminds me of, did you see Lando Norris's tweet that he put up earlier on today after he came second in F2?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, I think it was a tweet of 2015, 2016, 2017, and it's all got P1 and champion, and then it's got a gold medal next to all of them, and then it's got 2018 silver medal, and second place, and he's also said looking forward to next season. You're like, well, yeah, you ain't gonna get P2 or P1, so look forward to P18, P19, and P20 at some point. Hopefully he's going to be doing better than that, but, you know.
As we've expressed the opinion, they can't really do much worse.
No.
What else did we have? A fantastic little radio exchange with Alonso. Possibly my favourite of the season.
Ah, okay.
With the he was running in P11, and his engineer comes on and goes, "It's the point in the offing here." To which Alonso comes on and says, "I've scored 1,800 points. I don't need another one." To which the engineer goes, "Well, make it 8,001 for me. 1,801 for me."
Yeah.
And then Alonso decided to try and give him his wish by just missing 3 chicanes.
What was going on there?
I think this was Alonso having no fucks left to give.
Really?
I don't know, but he skipped. Hang on, because he got like a 15-second penalty off top. 3 separate 5-second penalties.
Yeah. Is there some sort of record he was going for there? The most amount of...
It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently the stewards were surprised by the repeated corner cutting.
He was playing online and just straight lining corners, wasn't he? That's all he was doing.
Yeah. But the notifications were at 1847, 1851 and 1852.
I feel that he's looked up the rules, or maybe looked up records of who's been penalised the most in one race.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I've got 3 laps left. If I cut 3 corners, I've got 24 seconds to the car behind me. I can afford to lose this.
Yeah.
So he'll go down as like a 2 times world champion, and also the person who picked up the most amount of penalty points during a race.
It's definitely a way to bow out in greatness.
Yeah.
Although it would seem that Will Smith stole his idea of trying to do every single job on a Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah. I like Will Smith, though. I've got no problems with him whatsoever.
Oh, me too. And I also quite like Alonso, and I'm very sad to see him leaving Formula One for now. I think the sport will be lesser for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, if his heart's not in it, he shouldn't be there. He's taking up spots from other drivers who could be making use of it.
I think it's the best thing for him to do now.
Mm.
He hasn't closed that door, which is a wise move. A year away from Formula One wouldn't do him any harm.
Let's not forget that Tandem Prost took a year out, came back, won the championship afterwards.
That's right. Just a year out and then come back later. And instead of having another year of battling down in the lower leagues with a McLaren possibly, and him bitching and whining and having glorious radio messages played out, but he doesn't want to be known and remembered for the guy who keeps bitching and whining on the radio. And so it's fun when it happens, but then you get that reputation and nobody wants to work with that person. So I think having a year out and people resetting with Alonso, seeing what he can do in other formula, and then coming back, and when he comes back, all doors are open to him. Who's not going to ask for him to come back into their team?
Ooh, do you think he might go to Formula E? Maybe he's just going to go to different championships now and try and win them.
Good luck to him. Honestly, good luck to him. I think he'll be good in anything that he wants to turn his hand at. I think he could win at anything that he wants to win at.
Yep.
So, but on the flip side, imagine him coming back and, I don't know, it hasn't worked out with Sebastian Vettel. They're looking for like another number 1 driver or someone to come along. Hey, Alonso, do you want back in? Do you want a second crack, 2-year contract? That's entirely doable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he hasn't lost any of what makes him... I still think he's very highly regarded by all the teams, as one of the best drivers out there. Best all-rounders, best developmental. He's lost none of his speed. It's just, the car's let him down. And I certainly agree with Ted Kravis's assessment that McLaren and Williams both need to effectively hang their heads in shame. They are They are not good.
No.
It's you can't have teams of that pedigree running around like, as poorly as they do. All that being said, though, let's not forget that Sauber last year finished 10th with, I believe, 5 points to their name, and this year finished 8th with 48 points.
Yeah.
So, you can turn things around very rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been massively impressed with Sauber all year, to be honest.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have as well. They've, I think, would they be most improved?
Ooh. Yeah, I definitely think most improved. I mean, Williams has scored more points this year than Sauber did last year.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that was almost the end of the race. Well, the race was over then, wasn't it? There wasn't any other real dramas going on. Lewis Hamilton did end up winning the race.
Yeah.
With Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen on the podium as well. But there was a nice little touch at the very end. And that was the formation flying of Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, and Fernando Alonso.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it kind of happening. I saw Alonso there and he was waving to the crowd. And we had that camera on board facing back to his face.
Yeah.
And I saw Hamilton pull up alongside. I thought, okay, are they going to do something? This will be good. If they all do donuts together, this will be cool. And then they did. It was almost as if Lewis Hamilton and Alonso had already worked this out, and Vettel was trying to get into it and then kept going off the track just in case I hadn't noticed him there. But they did go up to the start-finish line and drop some donuts, which was, there's a couple of photos I've seen, and they are proper iconic photos of these three cars just spinning around, and you've got 5, 9, 11 world championships just sat there on the grid, and it's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I thought it was really good. Do you think that's a classy way of doing things, or do you think that's a bit over the top?
No, I really liked it. I like when we do these little bits. I mean, it's one good thing I think that comes out of the Abu Dhabi race is those kind of end celebrations there, and just seeing those sort of moments. It's nice. I mean, the only thing that kind of, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and all this sort of stuff, but do you remember when Massa was announced his retirement? Mm-hmm. But then, he did all this sort of stuff and it was great and he got on a podium, but then he was back the next year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just a bit like, well, you did this all last year. It doesn't quite seem the same. And all I was thinking was with Alonso, I want to see him back, but I felt that if with a year off, I think it'd be different. But when you do a big thing like that to celebrate a driver leaving, but they haven't officially retired or something like that, it just feels just a little bit
empty.
Yeah, a little bit empty. Yeah, that's exactly the right word for it.
Yeah, a bit hollow.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. If he doesn't come back, then I think it's a fitting way of bowing out.
Yeah.
Nobody. Well, so I didn't mind Michael Schumacher coming back. I was quite happy to see him back on the grid, especially in the Mercedes as well, where he started his career. Mm-hmm. Some would argue, and because it was in sports cars, wasn't it? And I liked him coming back. I liked the fact that he got a pole position, but it wasn't really a pole position. But I don't know. It's just people always turn around and say about the Michael Schumacher coming back, and he didn't really do much. I think he got like 1 or 2 podiums when he came back, and they said that it was a failure. I don't think so. It's a totally different category. Imagine if he'd stayed on for like 3 or 4 more years. Would he be in Lewis Hamilton's position? I don't know, but
he'd certainly be in Lewis Hamilton's car.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. And he could have been spearheading on an all-German driver partnership with a German team. But I don't know. I quite liked him back there. You know, if you want Michael Schumacher there, you've got him there. Why wouldn't you want him there? And I think the same with Alonso and any other driver. Imagine if Lewis Hamilton wanted a year off and came back. Although I think when he leaves, that'll be it. He'll leave and that's it.
Mm.
You just don't turn down that type of driver.
No, not at all.
Mm. Cool. Right. Well, that was it then.
Yeah. I guess that's the end of it. I'm trying to think. Anything big come out from the end? No, I mean, all those engines are now shagged, but they're all also kind of useless.
Yeah.
Don't need them anymore.
No, there is a test here during the week, isn't there? Monday or Tuesday, I think.
Yes, there is a test. It's going to be, Carlos Sainz has been given permission to test with McLaren, so we're going to see that. Kimi Räikkönen, I think, will be testing with Sauber.
Right.
And I think Leclerc will be testing with Ferrari.
Cool.
Teams where they're close are quite happy. So Daniel Ricciardo is not being allowed to go and test with Renault. So I gather he's off home. Apparently Alonso might test for 2019 McLaren. I don't know if it would be this weekend or in pre-season or whatever.
Right.
But he might be drafted in to do some testing. I guess we will see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a lot of young drivers up and coming. That kind of. It's a bit like school's finished, but people are still hanging around in the playground, just not quite ready to leave yet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, I'll run down the top 10 if you don't mind, and then we'll do the drivers and the full championship standings. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Lewis Hamilton won this race from Sebastian Vettel. Max Verstappen was also on the podium, as I said earlier on. Daniel Ricciardo was 4th. Valtteri Bottas was 5th. Carlos Sainz was 6th. Charles Leclerc was 7th. Sergio Perez was 8th. Romain Grosjean 9th. And Kevin Magnussen pulling up the last point in 10th position. And, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to do drivers or do you want to do constructors?
I'll tell you what. We'll start with drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But as we go through them,
yep,
very, very quickly, how we think their season's been.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah? That's a good way of doing it.
I'm going to start at the bottom then, okay?
Yep.
So, in 20th, because this is the first season as well where every driver scored a point in God knows how long.
Yeah.
But in 20th, Sergei Sirotkin, 1 point. Don't call us, we'll call you.
Up against it, I'd say, with him.
Very up against it, but to my mind, he was in an unimpressive car, but he was also up against an unimpressive teammate.
Yeah. And came off second best.
Yes. That's never a good place to be.
No.
But he won't be in Formula One next year. Do we know where he's off to?
No. I don't know anyway, no.
Me neither. Okay. In 19th, Brendan Hartley with 4 points.
Could do a lot better.
Definitely could do a lot better. I mean, this is an LMP1 champion. He's won Le Mans. Definitely should be doing a lot better, especially consider Pierre Gasly, comfortably outscored him by a significant margin.
Yeah.
So, not all of Brendan's fault. I think he definitely had some bad luck, but only so much of that you can blame on yourself. I guess we'll see.
He had some failures which screwed him up, but I think he could have done a lot better.
So in 18th, Lance Stroll with 6 points. I think the fact his dad has bought a Formula One team but has yet to announce him as a driver at said team kind of tells you all you need to know about him.
I'll leave it at that then.
Yeah. 17th is Marcus Ericsson with 9 points. He's leaving this season as well. I think he's off to Formula E.
Yes. He's off to IndyCar, isn't he?
Oh, yes, you're quite right. He's off to IndyCar. I think he was lucky to get the seat this season. I think a lot of that was financial.
Yep.
Because I think Pascal Wehrlein was a more impressive driver last time out.
Yeah.
But, hell, it's the way it goes these days. You've got to have the pocketbooks to go with it.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Probably won't be missed, though.
No, probably not. 16th, Stoffel van Dorn with 12 points. And another body on the mound of young drivers, which McLaren has chewed up and spat out. a list which grows ever larger. I feel sorry for the guy. He has a lot of potential. You know, he scored more points in his GP2 career than any other one did in a single season.
Right.
Comfortably, he was being spoken of in the same sort of hushed tones as Hamilton, but you're in that McLaren up against it with Alonso. It's just
yeah, wrong driver at the wrong time, wasn't it? And the wrong name as well. Should have got stuck with Dornberg.
Yes, he should have done. Don't know where we'll see him next year, but I guess he definitely seems to have left on positive terms though with McLaren. So
yeah,
at least it doesn't seem too much recriminations there.
He's going Formula E next season.
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool. So 15th, Pierre Gasly with 29 points. We know he's off to the Red Bull team to partner with Max Verstappen.
Yep.
He's shown signs of greatness, but the last couple of races, he's been a little bit Red Bullish.
Right.
See what I did there? You see what I said there?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, there's a few instances of team orders don't apply to me.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah. I think his eye has been turned.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he can give Max a run for his money.
Oh, yes.
I think he is possibly a driver that could give him a run for his money as well. I think he's wildly talented, but I just hope he doesn't get chewed up and spat out.
I don't think that will happen, but I'm anticipating fireworks, the likes of which we probably haven't seen since Webber Vettel.
Oh, yes. That's good then. That's good. We want the drama.
Oh, I think there'll be much. Strange enough, the only thing I think will stop drama in Red Bull is if the engine is truly atrocious and that costs them more points than each other.
Yeah.
But I think of all the driver lineups for next year, that's got the potential to be the most spicy, shall we say.
Definitely.
14th, we have Romain Grosjean with 37 points. I can't say his season was pointless because he had 37 points.
At one point, though, it was pointless.
At one point, it was until about the mid-season, it was pointless.
He's a tough one.
He's up and down, and I don't know if he's a mediocre driver that's had a couple of good seasons or a great driver which has had a couple of mediocre seasons.
Oh, okay. I don't think he's a great driver.
No, me neither.
I think he was promising, and he just hasn't flowered the way that he should have. Or possibly his potential has never been unlocked. I think it was getting unlocked at Lotus when he was given free rein, and then everyone decided, no, do you know what? You want to rein that back in.
Yeah.
And he did so, and now he can't free it up again. It's gone. That magic has now gone.
Yeah.
He's just a mid-table driver now.
Yep, no, I'd agree with that. It's he's lucky, I feel, to be carrying. He is signed on for next year, isn't he? Let's just check. I feel the only reason Haas are retaining him is because they feel they owe him for him sticking with them at the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And presumably they didn't have any better options, but I don't think they're keeping him based solely on his performance. No,
I think it's to keep consistency on a growing team. And at one point they will get rid of maybe one, maybe two of their drivers. And I think he could possibly be the first one to go.
Yeah. Let's see. 13, Charles Leclerc with 39 points. I've been hugely impressed with him this season. This is his rookie year, isn't it? Still,
yeah.
No, he's been truly mighty, and he's earned a seat in the Ferrari team next year. And this is, I mean, it seems like the obvious one, but let's not forget Ferrari do not like putting new drivers in their cars.
No,
they like established, well-seasoned drivers. They like the drivers to be safe bets. So I think it's a testament to just how impressive he is that they're putting him straight in that.
Yeah, I have I've been won over by him. I've been won over by his attitude. I've been won over by the way that Sauber have been working this year as well. And I think when it was announced he was going to be replacing Kimi, I think that might be a bit too soon. Maybe you should hold off one more year. But now it feels right. It works well and it feels right. And I am really looking forward to him up against Sebastian Vettel, if no one else.
Well, I said the Red Bull team might be the one giving us the most sparks. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if Leclerc is consistently faster than Vettel.
Yeah. What will happen there?
Yeah.
Sebastian.
Lot to look forward there, because we know Sebastian doesn't play well with most people.
No, Sebastian, Charles is faster than you.
I think that might result in a few choice words from Sebastian. Next up in 12th, Eric Ocon with 49 points. I'm going to keep that up. Yeah. I've been impressed with Ocon. I feel he's just really gotten a raw end of a stick with missing out on a drive for next season, but he's going to be the reserve driver, and it wouldn't surprise me one iota if we saw him in a works Mercedes in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he's been solid. He's continued growing and developing from last year as well. I don't think we've seen... I think there was a lot of turmoil in the team. Would it actually be there by the end of the season? And it is, so that's all calmed down. And he's had a couple of bumps and grinds, i.e. with his teammate and other drivers, and that hasn't helped, but that's all part of the growing process. So I think he's definitely one for the future. I'm not going to say he's a future world champion nailed on, because I don't think you can say that about anyone nowadays. But yeah, I like this guy. I really do like this guy.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll just see him back on the circuit very, very soon. In 11th, Fernando Alonso with 50 points. What can be said that hasn't already been said about Fernando, other than he is faster than you?
Yeah, 50 points is mega, I think, in that car, which has been a slug all season, especially since mid-season as well.
Well, they stopped developing it mid-season. I think that's fairly apparent. And Alonso single-handedly dragged that team to 6th place in the constructors.
Mm-hmm.
So all power to Alonso. I really think McLaren are going to hurt next year if the car isn't a significant step up. They're my tip for bottom of the pack unless something changes there. So we'll see on that front, but I'm going to miss him.
Yeah.
10th, we have Carlos Sainz with 53 points.
Yeah.
He's been a little bit anonymous, I suppose, in the shadow of Hülkenberg.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. I think at the beginning of the season he was there, and he's just kind of tapered off. I don't know what's happened there.
Yeah, but he's off to McLaren next year, replacing Alonso. He'll be testing with them this week.
Yep.
Very big shoes to fill.
Oh, yes, huge. And do you think he'll be able to do it? Do you think he'll be able to muster and drag a McLaren around the way that Alonso has?
No.
Right. Well, I think that says it all then.
A little bit. 9th place, Kevin Magnussen, 56 points. We've got to acknowledge 56 points. Well done, that man. He's scored points more often than he hasn't. He's got a bit of an attitude, though, the last couple of seasons, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I think he's been quiet. He's kept his head down the last couple of races, though. Yeah,
the second half of the season, I think he's calmed down. But the first half of the season, he was definitely vocal about his opinions.
Yeah. And other drivers as well.
Yes. 8th place, Sergio Perez with 62 points.
Mm-hmm.
He's been solid all season for the most part. him and Eric have managed to avoid colliding into each other too often this year. And he will continue with Force India next year because he apparently has impressed Mr. Stroll enough to warrant a seat.
Oh, well, as long as he's impressed him, then that's all you need to do, really, isn't it?
Apparently so. Plus, he's bringing lots of money, so, you know.
I'm sure that, there's like 50 million reasons why he's going to be staying in that seat. Yeah, definitely.
Uh-huh. And in 7th place, the winner of the B Championship is Nico Hülkenberg with 69 points.
That's right.
69!
Yeah.
I mean, fair play to him. He's been quietly just chipping away, picking up the points. Never been too spectacularly in your face, but let's face it, no one else has got a bloody looking at a podium all year outside of the top 3 teams. So he's just always been there or thereabouts.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one guy who definitely needs a podium. And it's good that all the other cars have got that reliability to, if one of their cars doesn't get on there, then the other one's going to get on there and fill that slot. But it would be nice to see other cars up there as well, wouldn't it? I know we only had Sergio Perez up on the podium. We're going to be talking about that in a minute as well. But yeah, I think he's had a solid season. He's had some ups and downs. I'm forgetting where he had his downs, but today.
Well, I think today was a bit of a down, or certainly an upside down.
It was an upside down. Yeah, today wasn't the greatest start, or wasn't the greatest way to finish a season, but I think he's got a good teammate coming in and a good milestone to run against as well. Because when you're teammates with Daniel Ricciardo, you know exactly where you are.
Yeah, I think having someone like Ricciardo to measure himself against, will benefit him. Mm. The thing with Hülkenberg, though, is he's just one of those lost generation of drivers. This was his 8th season in Formula One.
Yeah.
And he's had 1 pole position with Williams, I believe.
Yeah. It's a lifetime ago, that was.
It is. Let's just hope Renault are able to bring something to the party next time out.
I hope so. I kind of want a Renault car up there. They deserve to be up there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So next up is in 6th place, speak of a devil, Daniel Ricciardo with 170 points. I think a season of 2 halves. First half of the season went really well for him, given where Red Bull started off.
Yeah.
And, he won in Monaco. He also won in China, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which is fair play. But then just look at the thing, in the second half of the season, he's had 4 retirements. 5 if you count the German one as well. So,
right.
Yeah,
he's had no luck in the second half of the season.
No.
He was in content. They were talking about titles just after Monaco going into Canada. It was, okay, right, I need to win this one, and then if I don't win this one, then the title's gone, etc. And it's good to hear that he was speaking about that and aiming for that. And I think as soon as that slipped and all the bad luck started rocking up, then that was his season over.
Yeah. Yeah, the tides of fortune kind of shifted towards Max, and he just never really recovered. And you could see how incredibly frustrating it was for him. I feel that Red Bull, the team, were a little unfair to him by so publicly and obviously favouring Max from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I don't really think Ricciardo had much choice but to try and, look elsewhere. And the fact that Red Bull was so taken aback by this just kind of shows how, they really weren't paying attention to what they had.
No, they were taking him for granted, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So,
good luck for next season, I think.
No, I mean, Daniel Ricciardo is probably my favourite driver on the grid at the minute. Just in terms of, of everyone there, he's the one I'm probably most likely to go and hang out with.
Mm.
He seems like a genuinely nice bloke, and he deserves a bit of luck. But it's a sport where you make your own luck.
That's right.
Yeah. Fifth place, Valtteri Bottas with 247 points. I compared to last season, it's been a lot less impressive for him. Only Mercedes driver in the hybrid era not to score a point, not to win a race.
Right.
So
only one out of the top 6 not to win a race as well.
Yeah, he's.
I'm very unimpressed with him.
His head's ever since, was it China, where Vettel kind of spanked him?
I'm forgetting now, but I don't know. Yes, he was China.
It was China, and he was in the lead, and he just wasn't as aggressive as he should have been.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people criticised him for that, and I think it might have just got under his skin.
Yeah,
but it's very unimpressive. I think his season was run long before he was asked to give that place to Lewis.
In Russia, was it?
Yeah. But if you're going to do that to yourself, by being that unimpressive up until that point, it's to be expected.
Yeah, I'm just not taken by him. I think when he was at Williams, he kind of suited the Williams mentality and the way that it was running at that time with the Mercedes in the back of that car, but put him in the works and it just hasn't. He's never really set the world on fire. So,
I think it's telling just how well Hamilton gets on with him, because Hamilton just doesn't consider him a threat.
Yeah, he isn't a threat. He's a wingman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's it. It was said earlier on this year, he's a wingman.
In fourth is Max Verstappen with 249 points. I've said a lot about Max. Look, he's a very talented young driver, very fast, but I still think he thinks his shit don't stink.
Well, yeah. I think he's good for Formula One. He is creating problems now which will bite him in the arse later on, I feel.
Possibly. I definitely think, though, he will have opportunities to mature and evolve. And let's not forget, Lewis used to be a massive dick.
Yeah.
Alonso, 2007.
Oh, yeah.
It's these drivers can evolve and they can mature. So I don't think we've seen the best of Verstappen yet. I think he will, he's got the potential to be one of the all-time greats. I think a little humility might be good to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that Red Bull give us a car where we can have them in the mix regularly. Because it's nice when you have 3 different cars and constructors and everything up at the top.
Oh, it'd be dreadful if one of them 3 dropped out.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we'd like to have, any number of drivers capable of winning a championship.
Yeah.
But, we'll take what we can do.
Yeah.
Ooh, which reminds me. Remind me in a second. I need to talk to you about something about the Erics thing, but I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
In third place, Kimi Räikkönen with 251 points. Kimi won a race. Yay. He should have won 2.
He should have won 2. I don't know, maybe one more as well. I think just enough from a Ferrari driver. He's just behind, well, not just behind his teammate. He's nearly 100 points behind his teammate, but I think he's done a solid enough season. Nobody could begrudge him being third in there. And yeah, we get to see him next year. He hasn't set the world alight again, but I think he's done just enough. And he's always...
Well, you see, that's where you're wrong, because he has set the world alight. He set the poetry world alight, because let's not forget, he released a book of haikus.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was one of the most consistent this season, though.
I think so. He was always there to pick up points when they were available.
Yeah.
He will give a place up without any fuss, no muss. Just don't be subtle about it. Just tell him what you want him to do. He'll do it. Exactly.
Yeah. Tell me where you want me to be. I'll do it. Yeah. It's fine. Just make sure that everyone knows that.
Yeah. So, And as you said, I'm very glad we've still got Kimi again next season.
Mm.
So second place, Sebastian Vettel with 320 points.
Yep.
Started out very strongly. I do think the Ferrari was the faster car in the first half of the season. I think he got inside his own head a little bit. He started making mistakes. I think for me, the turning point was probably the German Grand Prix.
Mm.
I think,
yeah.
At that point in the rain, he just, his challenge seemed to come off the rails then. And yes, he won in Belgium, but then in Spa, sorry. But then, Lewis had wins in Italy, Singapore, Russia, and Japan. And, Vettel just wasn't able to capitalize on and to hold that.
No, it's been a case of small mistakes. He's been looking over his shoulder. He's been getting a lead and looking over his shoulder, whereas Hamilton has been hunting down. And once he gets a lead, that's it. He's got the lead.
Yeah.
And Sebastian, he's up against a different character with Lewis Hamilton, where he was winning his championships. He was up against Mark Webber. He was up against Hamilton in the McLaren at certain stages, but it wasn't the Hamilton of 2018. It's a very different character than what we had 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And Vettel just tripped himself up. Silly little mistakes throughout the season, which don't need to be done. I'm blanking on a couple of them, but some of them are just bizarre mistakes for no reason whatsoever. Getting time penalties for no reason whatsoever. Getting grid positions for no reason. You shouldn't be getting these. For, speeding under a yellow flag as well?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of them. It's just silly little mistakes that he shouldn't be making. And it's frustration that's coming out and ruining his season. Now, I'm not saying that Lewis wouldn't have clawed back the deficit if he'd won in Germany. I think Lewis was still going to win this championship because he's just sky high above everyone else. But he could have made it more competitive and maybe taken it down to the wire if he hadn't made these silly little mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you said. Which leads us to our champion.
Yep.
Lewis Hamilton with 408 points. I believe the first time a driver has scored 400 points in a single season, which is largely meaningless since we now have more races than I think at any other time.
More races, points are changed, etc., etc.
So it's another useless statistic. But, fair play, well done. Once that momentum started building from the middle of the season onwards, he was kind of unstoppable. It was like a freight train.
Yeah, even when he wasn't likely to win, it fell into his lap. I'm thinking of Baku and Germany as two ripe ones that did fall into his lap.
It's true, but you have to have your lap in the right position.
Yeah,
for it to fall into, and he did that. So I'm not a fan of him, but I've been mightily impressed with him. He seems like he's now going to work, and it is so easy. He has got everyone beaten by the time he turns up to the race. That's the way I feel. He's already beaten people. If he's on pole, he's already beaten people. I was impressed the way he cut the way through the field in certain races. I'm blanking on what races it was, but there was a couple of races where he started further down and he just sized through them. Yeah.
Easier than anyone else. And it was a case of, anyone else would have taken a while to get out to the front and you're already there within 6 laps. Okay. now it's just we continue. I've been really honestly impressed with him this season. This is the first season I've stepped back and gone, yeah, do you know what? He's the best out there. He's easily the best out there. And it's not just, he's mightily better than Vettel this season.
I agree. And I'd like to remind everyone that hashtag Blessed will be available in all record shops at the end of the year. I maintain, I think at the beginning of the season, he probably thought about retiring at the end.
Yeah.
I think that was his plan originally. I don't know when that changed, but I don't think he's planning it now. But I do
probably
think...
in Germany, I'd imagine.
I think maybe before that, but I definitely think he was planning... it might have been a British Grand Prix when he didn't win there.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not going out of not having one
he
there.
proper sulked on that as well, didn't he?
Properly sulked on that one. So, yeah. But anyway, that is your drivers' standings. The thing I wanted to mention, which I forgot to mention earlier, but I just remembered it and I really wanted to mention it, is our old friend Mr. Palmer had an opinion piece on the collision between Eric Ocon and Max Verstappen, saying Ocon has to change the way he drives or people will stop respecting him and he wouldn't be worthy of a seat in Formula One, which I thought was rich coming from him.
From the person who lost his seat in Formula One.
Yes. Just wanted to mention that while I remembered it.
Okay. Eric. Oh, I don't know why I said that. We lose Van Dorn and we gain an Eric. Oh well.
Do you want me to do the constructors or do you want to do it?
I'll do the constructors. In 10th position, we have Williams with 7 points. Bravo to them. In 9th position, I was surprised at this, Toro Rosso with 33 points.
Wait, are you just surprised they're that low or they have that many points or they're that high? Where's the surprise coming from?
Toro Rosso deserve to be higher. I suppose the Honda has dropped them down a bit, though.
Well, where were they last year? Toro Rosso last year were 7th, 53 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly where Force India are. But then again, Force India, whatever they're called now, only had half a season to get 52 points.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm disappointed in them. Sauber, very impressed with them. 8th position, 48 points.
A bit of an improvement over the 5 points from last year.
Massive improvement. I thought that car looked glorious the moment it stepped out.
I really like that paint scheme they had, yeah.
Force India, even though they started from 0 points, I forget which race it was, but...
they started at Spa.
Was it Spa, yeah?
It was at Spa.
Okay.
They had scored 59 points up until that point. Mm-hmm. And then they scored 52 points since then.
So they would have been above Haas.
No, they wouldn't. Haas would have been... Oh, wait, would they have been?
They would have finished above
Yeah, they would
Haas.
have been. Yeah. Oh, maybe that's why they're having a sulk about it then.
Yeah. So they finished 7th with 52 points. McLaren, Alonso finished 6th with 62 points. Haas finished in 5th position with 93 points. Renault were the best of the rest with 4th position and 122 points, improving, I feel, and hopefully going to break in as well. Red Bull...
Yeah, they scored 57 points last year, Renault. So
I thought Renault were going to finish below McLaren. I thought it was going to be embarrassing that Renault were supplying 2 teams that were going to beat them. And yet they did beat McLaren. So, yeah, bravo to them. They did much better than what I thought they would. Or maybe I just thought McLaren were going to be better.
Yeah.
Red Bull were in 3rd position with 419 points, way ahead of Renault. Then we got Ferrari in 2nd position with 571 points. And Mercedes have won the championship with 655 points.
That is a spicy meatball.
Certainly is. Okay, our predictions from last time. We're not going to be predicting anything this time round, but we need to finish off our race at least.
Yes.
So, do you remember what you went for last time out?
No.
Good. Then I can make it up. Because you went... Pole position, I went with Daniel Ricciardo. You went with Hamilton. Guess what?
Hey!
You got pole position. So, congratulations to you. You get a point. In the race, you went with Kimi Räikkönen. Interesting, because he broke down, so you get no points. I went with Verstappen. No points.
No points.
Nuts.
No
Lewis
points.
Hamilton won it.
He did.
In our third column, we had who will finish last. I went with Lance Stroll. So where did Lance Stroll finish? 13th. No point for me.
That was 13th out of, in terms of how many runners were there? Out of 15.
Yeah. You went with Sergei Sorokin to finish last. Congratulations. You get another point for that.
Hey.
Well done, mate. We also had Alonso. Where will Alonso finish in his last race? You went with did not finish. Oh dear. So you didn't get any points for that, mate.
No.
I went with 15th. There were only 15 runners left at the end of the race, and he finished 11th. So I get no points there again.
Oh.
And
Now wait, as I recall, there was a special category where you could have won all of the points.
Yep.
If any team, any driver
Yep.
from any team other than the top three got on a podium.
Yep.
Any step.
Anyone.
Yeah.
Come on, Bueller. Anyone.
So there's 20 runners.
Mm-hmm.
6 of those were in the top teams. So you had 14 people to choose from.
Yep. Anyone in 14.
Did you win all the points?
No, nobody.
No, you did not.
No, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull were on the podium today.
Yeah.
So I get no points for that either. So yeah, you keep. Hang on, let me just tally up. So you got 2 points there. I get no points again. Flipping out. That's 3 races on the trot. I've got no points. That is the longest. No, you had 4 races at the start with no points.
Yeah, I didn't have a great start. In fact, you were in the lead for almost all of the season, weren't you?
I was in the lead up until Japan. Japan is where you broke me. And that's where you overtook.
We are the champions, my friend.
Second time, isn't it? Is it second time or third time? I forget. But I ended up with 13 points over the course of the season. That's not good.
I'm lucky for some, mate.
That's not good. And you ended up with 18 points. So congratulations.
And we'll keep on fighting till the end.
Yeah.
Damn. Sorry.
Congratulations, mate. You have won the podcast hosts Intercontinental Championship.
Hey, does it come with a large bonus? A check, maybe? Some sort of monetary reward?
Yeah. Check your P.O. box.
Okay.
Whatever. So that's it, mate. That is it. That's the end of the season. Well, I'm going to say thank goodness, because I think at the end of the race, I'm normally quite sad when the race is over, because that's the whole season over. And this time out, I wasn't that sad. It was just, okay, it is now past. Looking forward to next season.
It was not...
If anyone says this year was a classic, they're wrong. It was not a classic season.
They definitely need their heads examining. It felt to me like Formula One is almost figuring out that something needs to be fixed. It's like it's coming around to understanding this is something that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a question now of them figuring out what needs to be done properly. And there's lots of talk. We have new aero regs next year, simplified front wings, as the result of an actual study for the first time ever. This is the first time they're actually basing rules off of research. As shocking as that is to believe, it is true. And so we're going for wings which are a lot more reminiscent of what we had in the beginning of 2009.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see if that happens too. Everything's kind of building towards these 2020... Is it 2021 regulation change?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Engines are largely unchanged. Tyres are largely unchanged. Although, thank fuck, we don't have to call them hyper softs or ultra softs or super kamehameha softs or whatever bollocks it is. It's just every race is going to be a soft, a medium, and a hard. So that's going to make our life so much easier.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. We still don't have all of the drivers announced for next season, so we don't know who's where. We're still waiting to hear on a Toro Rosso,
Yep,
and a Force India.
yeah.
Do you think it's going to be Stroll, or do you think it's going to be someone else?
I'd love it to be someone else, just to screw with his head.
Yeah, me too.
Just to, mate, has he got any brothers? I wonder if he's standing by it and then just, do you know what? I'll put the other kid in there.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got a couple of people. We've got quite a few people returning to Formula One next year. Got let's see, Giovinazzi. He's returning.
Yep.
We've got Danny Kvyat.
Oh God, yes.
Returning, and Robert Kubica.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the comeback kid season. A little bit. Be interesting there, isn't it?
That'd be good. Yeah.
I think that might. I know we're not doing any predictions, but I think that might be one at some point. Is which of those three is going to score the most?
Right, I'm going to write that down. Hang on,
right.
Comeback kid. If I just write down comeback kid, I think I know exactly what that it needs. And comeback kid is not spelled with a K. Also, it'd be good to see how many grid penalties Red Bull has on their first race.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Right. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we shut up shop for the rest of the season? Well, until next season?
Not really. I think I'd like to thank you, obviously, for hosting the cast and letting me come and rant and ramble and all that. And I'd like to thank all the listeners who have, for God only knows what reason, put up with listening to us. I can only apologise.
I'm humbled at even one person downloads this. So thank you to each and every one of you that has downloaded this. Why? I don't know. And you're probably sat here now at the thick end of nearly 2.5 hours going, I don't know either. But
yeah. All that being said, though, we still want you to send more people our way. So, you've got to go and spread the word. We want more people. We want real power. We want people important listening to our random bullshit.
Yeah, definitely. Why the hell not? If you're going to go big, just go for the top.
Yeah.
So, Andy, there are podcast listeners. These guys actually download podcasts for their enjoyment. So, have you got anything else that you'd like to spread your word on?
Well, if you've enjoyed listening to me and Elton have a little bit of a back and forth, this little bit of a thing that we do many other podcasts together, and they can find all of those over at RogueTwoMedia.com. As well as the Band of Brothers podcast and the Earth to the Moon podcast. You recently guested on my podcast, The Great Derelict, where we were talking about a series of science fiction books called The Bobbyverse, which you should go and check out. And then I went and visited you at your other podcast house, The Black Dog Podcast, which is a podcast about TV and film reviews, where we talked about Children of Men, which is a very, very good but very, very depressing science fiction film. So... you can go check that out at blackdogpodcast.com.
That's right.
Plus, you can find us on the Twitters and the Instagrams and the iTunes and the Spotifys. But there's lots of lovely podcasts. Go and listen. Go give them a review. Go and spread the word. Get some other people listening. Give us a nice little 5-star review on the old iTunes. A bit of a review. Always nice to read your thoughts. Message us on Twitter. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. If you think we're right, if you think we're wrong. We want all your feedback. Interaction is what it's all about. Name of the game.
Yes, and we do have a email as well at boxboxbox@grandprixpodcast.com. So you can send stuff there as well.
It's worth emailing just so you could type in box.
Yeah. Although people don't say that now. They just say box. They're like, oh, come on, do the thing.
Oh. You need to, you got to have that sense of urgency there. You got to do that because otherwise, what we won't know. But I think that's all I can think of anyway.
Good stuff. I would just promote the Flicks capacitor as well. This week I've recorded a new episode. It'll be out very shortly. I've just got to do a slight bit of editing on there. And then you can listen to myself and Mr. Ian Lee talk about Le Jetté.
Le Jetté.
Le Jetté. It's a time travel movie. That's what it's all about. So pop over to iTunes and other podcast hosting places and find all that stuff there. And as Andy said, reviews are always welcome. So thank you very much. Thank you, Andy, for this season. It's been excellent. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you about this season.
Always a pleasure, mate. Even if the season is mediocre, listening and joining you while we rant about it has been a delight.
Good.
Even though I've had to get up extraordinarily early on a couple of occasions to do this for the US.
Yeah, well, hopefully you won't have to fly to the US.
No, I should be a lot more UK bound next year, so not quite as many long distance ones.
No, but thank you for your effort, for doing that, for doing it in Australia, for doing it all the way around the world, for touring the Grand Prix podcast. So thank you very much for doing that, mate.
You're welcome, mate.
Cool. Yeah, listeners, that's it. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you enjoyed listening to us waffling on. God, we have waffled on. We hope you enjoyed this season. We hope you will be back for next season. I'm sure we will put stuff out in between now and the start of next season, even if it is just to talk about the colours of the cars. We might.
I will definitely do something about pre-season testing, I'm sure.
We'll probably do pre-season testing. We might even get together and talk about some rules that we'd like to change. Just do like a fantasy league rule change. Just anything goes, apart from no Mario Kart. We ain't going to do that silly stuff.
Nah.
But yeah, just keep your feed open and hopefully we'll catch you for the next season in 2019. So until then, have a very, am I allowed to say Happy Christmas?
Oh,
it's
not quite December, but you know what? It is a month away. So
yeah,
I'll give you special dispensation.
I would tread carefully. Have a nice holiday season. Enjoy yourself. Gorge on yourself. Well, not on yourself. And we'll hopefully see you in 2019. So until then, thank you very much and goodbye.
I would like to, before we say goodbye, just remind everyone what is best in life, and that is to defeat your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of Max Verstappen. Good night.
That move for seats might be coming on the Renault. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that, especially if Ultravirus has got a problem, because 2.8 has become 1.9 in the space of a lap. So that's